Okay, so let's make this a fun video this time. Give me a sec. This is going to be a Q&A session. Back in a moment. Okay, we'll get the usual crap out of the way. Like and subscribe if you want to. There'll be a new video each week and I'll talk about movies or TV sometimes. Let's get started. What I did was I went on social media and I talked to some friends. And I shouldn't keep touching my nose. But I talked to some friends and I said, give me some questions, give me a Q&A about movies so I can talk to you and get some content for the channel. 4 people did it because all the rest of my friends are total bastards and they're dead to me. But I did get 4 answers, well, 4 questions, and here are the answers to those questions. So let me get my phone. He said reaching blindly for his phone, and we'll start with the questions. Okay, Dr. Zom started off. Dr. Zom has been a podcaster for a long time. His podcast, Silver and Gold, SILVA and Gold, is one you should really watch, particularly if you're drunk. So he says, what's your favorite true crime movie? Now that's a hard one. There's so many going back so far. I'm trying to do these without any research. I'm not kind of setting up the answers ahead of time. I like Bonnie and Clyde. I think that's a really good one. There's a really good Australian one from the late 1970s called The Money Movers, which everybody should check out. Nice, honest, gritty crime movie. There are any number of them as well. Zodiac's pretty good. And also Spotlight. Now, you don't really think of that as a crime movie. It's about clerical abuse in Boston, but again, it is a crime film in a sense. So there are just so many ones. I think there are some that are a bit same, and finding a new way to tell the story of these enormously elaborate crimes is kind of difficult, but I think that those ones definitely found their own path through the true crime genre, and they're worth checking out. There's also Escape from Alcatraz and things like that, which is based on a true story. There are any number of them that kind of, not quite paraphrase, but do adapt true stories, changing some of the details. But those ones I'll settle for. And thanks for that, John. I really appreciate your input into the channel, mate. And then we got Bradley Wynn gave me a really interesting question because I don't think he quite understood what I was doing with it, but thank you for the input anyway in the feedback. He said, what's the movie American Western where in the film's final scene, a punch up in the desert, the dying hero handcuffs himself to the victorious villain, thus ensuring the latter's demise? Now, I've tried to do some Google search on this and I can't find it, Bradley. I have no effing idea. So what I'd suggest is let me know. I'm going to put this onto Facebook and get you to give me the answer, and I'll put it into the next video. But yeah, it wasn't really a kind of trivia quiz kind of questions answer thing, but thank you very much for giving it a go. And Andrew F. Pierce gave me another question. He gave me a really good one, in fact. Andrew's website, thecurb.com.au, is one of the go-to websites for movie stuff here in Australia, and there's nobody I know who's more passionate about Australian films than Andrew. And Andrew said, what's your favourite moment in cinema? And on top of this, what do you think is the most important moment or moments in cinema? Yeah, thanks for an easy question there, Andrew. My favourite moment in cinema, I think it's the pool scene with Kirk Douglas and Lana Turner in The Bad and the Beautiful. I really like the way Vincente Minnelli did that scene. It's just one of the funniest scenes in movies. And The Bad and the Beautiful is my favourite movie of all time. So there's that. There are any number of other ones. You can also look at things like reveals at the end of movies, like the end of The Usual Suspects, though that guy is a little bit dead to us now. There are just so many of them. Let me know what your ones are. I'm interested to see what other people think are the greatest moments in movies, because everybody's going to have a different answer, and that's the nice thing about it. Everybody's opinion matters, and everybody brings their whole movie viewing history into a question like that, and it really is something that I'm curious to see what other people say. But I'm going to go with the pool scene between Lana Turner and Kirk Douglas in The Bad and the Beautiful. 1952, won Oscars, you should see it. Now, what do you think is the most important moment or moments in cinema? Well, there's the bit in The Great Train Robbery, is it? The one where the guy shoots directly at the camera. In early film, there's that. There's wonderful use of mirrors in The Lady from Shanghai. You can pick any Orson Welles movie, there are going to be some great scenes. There's a really great scene in his last film, which only came out this year, I think, The Other Side of the Wind, where there's a kind of gust of wind and dust. And suddenly there's a woman behind it. There are all sorts of in-camera tricks that Welles did in his films that I really admire. Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, those are just so big questions that it's hard to see what the important moments in film are. I think Al Jolson talking for the first time in The Jazz Singer is important.
Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet.
I think that the first time somebody said in a movie is really important too. By the way, it was MASH, 1971, the Robert Altman film. I think that there are any number of important moments in cinema. And again, let me know which ones you like, because I'm interested to see what people think are important and which ones maybe not so important. I think that the ending of Gone with the Wind's a bit overrated, because Gone with the Wind, which I haven't seen, just the subject matter puts me off these days. I think it's one of those movies that has dated itself, and it used to get on everybody's list of the greatest movies of all time. But as we realise the political and racial structure of that film, I think it's dropped down the list significantly, and understandably so. Okay, Derek Francis, who's a good old friend of mine, and hi Derek, says, you're asked to present 3 movies in a special screening to honour your podcast. You'll also introduce the movies. What 3 movies do you choose and why? No limits, all boundaries to your choice. 3 movies. Well, I'll put The Bad and Beautiful in there probably. I think I would then match it up with 2 Weeks in Another Town, which is a kind of semi-sequel to it. Came out 10 years later in 1962. And the third one, what would I put in? What kind of movies do I want to get people to see that they haven't seen before? That's probably the question with these ones. Now, I could give you 55 or 60 different 3 movies that I'd put into this. The third one, I'd throw in something random. Let me think. Probably a movie like Rafifi. I'd throw in that great French crime drama directed by American Jules Dessin. It's just one of the great crime movies of all time. I could even throw in something weird and random like the X-rated Alice in Wonderland, which is kind of cute. It's the only movie, adult movie that I know, which combines sweetness with pornography. It really is a one out of the box, and I kind of liked that movie as well. I could do another series where I did all 3 ginger movies. These cheap, sleazy 1970s spy movies starring an actress called Sherry Cafaro. They're kind of cool. I could do 3 Rudy Ray Moore movies. I could do Dolomite, I could do The Human Tornado, and Disco Godfather. So I could do 3 of those. If I was doing Australian movies, I'd probably do Newsfront. I'd do Eureka Stockade, who, even though it was directed by an Englishman, Harry Watt, it really is a good piece of Australian film. And then maybe something like Monkey Grip, which I think is also an important Australian film. I wanted to kind of get a bit of gender diversity in that, because I tend to pick blokey films until I think about it. And then I kind of go, okay, well, I haven't been fair to women. I really need to address that. And I think that that's something that a lot of guys in a lot of contexts are dealing with now, is making a deliberate effort to kind of not go with your first instincts and do something with some gender diversity in it. If I was doing another 3, I'd pick some French New Wave films. I'd probably pick Breathless, which I like a lot. I would pick Agnes Varda's Cleo from 5 to 7. And probably The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, Jacques Demy's French musical, where all of the dialogue is sung. And that one's a perfect date film because everybody's crying at the end of it. But yeah, there are just so many of them. But Derek, you've really inspired me there, mate. You've done really well. So that's about it this time around. Next time I'm going to do something totally different. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to the people who gave me questions. I'm actually going to nail other people down for the next Q&A I do, and specifically ask specific people to ask me a question about movies so I can give you an answer and give you a little bit of an idea about the kind of stuff I like. In the show notes as well, I'm going to put a link to a radio interview I did this week with Rebecca McLaren at ABC Local Radio in Darwin in the Northern Territory, about movies, about the music I like. She asked me to pick 4 songs, and we kind of discussed my life. We discussed my abuse surviving and my movie buffness. And I'll put a permanent link to that down the bottom, so if people want to find out a bit more about me, they can listen to that one. It is a little bit of a hard listen at times, I'll be fair to you and warn you that up front, but Beck asked me to do it, and I'm kind of glad I did, and the response so far has been very positive and supportive. So anyway, keep watching this, guys. Keep watching good films, bad films, all sorts of movies. Next time around, I'm going to tell you a free streaming service that you can access anywhere in the world, which has a lot of old films in it. So anyway, until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.